Hey, Michael.
Hey, Rick.
And hey, Lou, and hey, Maria.
Alrighty.
Good morning, good evening, good evening.
Happy
Hello.
New Year.
Yes, happy 25.
Happy 25.
Oh, happy 25, yeah.
Here we are.
Hey, Rachel.
Hello.
Happy New Year.
Lou, I got you twice on my screen there. Is one of them?
I'm toggling between two devices. One was fighting me with Zoom updates when we got going.
Ah, got it.
So your number is reduced to 6. So your quorum is 4.
Right. So on that, while we got a moment while we're waiting for other folk,
Sarah is no longer at the board.
I saw that, and I thought when you and I talked before Christmas, that didn't show up that way to you, that she was still okay. But she's like timed out, permanently
Yeah.
timed out,
Yeah, she's time out.
but forever, right? The way I read the
Well, after 4 years, you can come back.
4 years is a long time. That's forever.
She could choose to be on the board as a non-voting member if she wants to participate. That's what people do, but you cannot be a voting member. Once you've done 8 years, you have to take a break. There are some people that they allow them on their final letter, they allow you to have the option to continue to serve until somebody is appointed to replace you. And there are some people that they're just time out.
All right. Well, okay.
You
Time
got
to
a
start
quorum.
recruiting again. And there's Greg. So with Greg joining us,
Yeah, you got a quorum now.
we have a quorum. Damon is going to join us, but he's going to be late. He's in rush hour traffic on I-10, so we're, all right. So Shay, hi, can you identify yourself?
Yeah, she's the applicant for case
Okay.
number 4.
Okay. And Shay, what's your last name?
Jimenez?
With a J?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
She was sick last time and could not be at the meeting, so we just doing what was supposed to have been done last time.
Okay, easy enough. Well, it is 6:01 and we have a quorum, so why don't we just go ahead and do a roll call? I think I heard we're already recording, right?
Yes, it is being recorded.
Okay. So, welcome everybody to the West University Historic Zone Advisory Board meeting of January 14th, 2025. Happy New Year. If we can just do a quick roll call to establish that we have a quorum. Rachel Sarah.
Here.
Lou Specknagel.
Here.
And Rick McDonald present. Okay, so we have a quorum. Did y'all have a chance to look at the LAR from last time, and can I have a motion to approve? Oh, Jim Glock, I thought you'd be late. All right, Jim. Yep, just say present, Jim.
Present.
Okay, awesome.
I'm adding me as present too.
Okay, so could we have a motion to approve the LAR from our last meeting? Everybody's on mute. Somebody say something.
I'll move that we approve the legal action report from the December meeting.
This is Rachel
Okay.
Sarah. I second.
Second. All in favor, aye.
Uh,
2, 3, 4.
Aye.
No. Okay. All right, approved. 5-0. Okay, call to the audience. Maria, Michael, any call to the audience?
We did not receive anything, Mr. Chair.
Okay. I'm just letting Damon know that he doesn't have to like race through rush hour traffic to get to us. Okay, so call audience, hearing none, we can move on into the meat of the meeting. We have one review on the agenda, item SD 0524 00049, 901 North 3rd Avenue. And I believe, Shay, you're presenting tonight, okay? Do you want to take control of the screen?
You should be ready to share your screen.
Sure. Yes. I was gonna present the historic design review package that was presented. Do you want me to share my screen, or do you also all have a copy, correct?
Somebody needs to put it on the screen.
Okay.
If you've got it, then it's better if it's you.
Okay.
Maybe
All right.
the co-host so you can share.
All right, let me try to do that right now. Can you see this?
It's getting there.
Let me make it full screen.
Okay, kind of seeing it.
I'm not sure why it's not letting me do full screen, but here we go. Okay, can you all see this?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you so much, everyone. I apologize for not being at the last. I was on the agenda for December and I got really sick and yeah, I just
Okay, I'm glad you're
had to
better.
cancel. But yeah, I'm feeling better now and ready to go. And this project is at 901 North 3rd Avenue. It was an existing storage shed that the homeowner had started to convert into had already started to kind of finish out on the interior, but was interested in doing a full conversion to an ADU. And this homeowner is, just a little context about the project. She's retired and is really hoping that this unit will help her, have a more stable economic future for herself. And she's actually planning on moving in here and renting out her primary house.
Oh,
And so it's a really exciting opportunity, I think, to show how we can get these projects passed. And this one has been a challenge because it's a very small project, but we're having to go through, full City of Tucson review as well as now historic review. So it's been a very lengthy process for a very small project, but we feel it will be well worth it in the end, again, for the homeowner's economic future. And so the existing storage shed has the kind of the wood siding, and it had a TPO roof. So our plan is to upgrade the full envelope and roof to meet energy code. And then now we're here trying to get through historic review. So the exterior, and there's also an addition. So we're adding a full kitchen and a full bath. And there's going to be a porch added as well to make this a fully independent living unit. So let's see, and then we'll do a little bit of site improvement. The homeowner wanted security. The guest house faces the street, faces south to let me see, where's the site plan here? That faces south on Second Street. So she was concerned about security, so we wanted to add a gate. And yeah, this rendering is showing the gate incorrectly. That's further down in the presentation. But and then there's some drainage issues, so we want to address those too. So here's the existing primary residence, the existing historic house. You know, it's reflective of the Queen Anne Revival style with the complex roof, ridge gable vents, has a key art at the windows, bay window. It's got nice details and it is a registered property. Okay, and then here I went through the design standards. You know, we feel that the alterations are compatible with other accessory structures within the district. We're using exterior stucco, a simple wood porch, corrugated metal roof, and single hung windows. As far as the height, we're not going to exceed the height of the existing structure. The existing structure is pretty tall, roughly 18'5". And the tallest point of this structure is going to be around 10'1". The setbacks, we are requesting a variance. We're non-conforming. Let's see if I can blow up this site plan here. Where's Zoom? Let's see here. Here we go. So the existing structure, so in plan, in gray here, this gray rectangle is the existing shed. And then in front, we're doing the addition with this bathroom and porch. And then here around is some, we'll have some basins and swales and landscape improvements and ADA accessible gravel path from this existing parking area. And to make all this possible, we'll have to cut out some of the concrete for the parking and do this. And then when it comes to the existing shed or store, the guest house, this footprint was non-conforming. So this is where, you know, UDC would require a 6.5 setback. We're down here at 2'1" on the east and similar on the north. This is just where the existing shed was placed. So can't really change that. We have again, we would have needed a 6-foot setback, but we're down here at 3.4 feet. Other than that, the setbacks are conforming, and in general, you know, the accessory structure is set back from the street and set back from the primary residence. So it's otherwise conforming. Let's see, details, the accessory structure and alterations. We're gonna try to obviously, you know, be compatible with the existing primary residence. The eaves on the roof will remain exposed as one example to match the existing. Windows will be single hung, and it's, you know, intentionally intended to be simple and less ornate than the primary residence. Form, overall massing of the existing shed stays the same. We're just adding the addition, which will be a similar shed roof but sloped in the opposite direction. The rhythm, we're, you know, adding these this porch with these columns that are spaced to define the new building entrance, similar, to the rhythm of the existing residence and other accessory structures within the district. And color, the new colors will be complementary. We'd like to use a beige color for the new roof and porch framing, and then brown, a brown color for the stucco walls. That'll complement the existing brown roof. Here's the site plan, which we already went through, but I'll pull it up again so you have again that context of where we're at. We're at right at the corner of 2nd and 3rd Avenue. Here's the existing primary structure. There's an existing fence here, an existing parking area, and this existing shed. And the lot is more or less 60 feet by 124. Okay. And then the next, we have some site photos again of this existing primary residence. This is, this is the south facade, the north facade, east, and there's a nice bay window on the south. Here's the west facade. And then here's some site photos of the existing shed. There's a south view. You can see that it has this really, it was not very high quality wood siding that was starting to deteriorate. So all that will be replaced with insulated stucco and achieve the R value we need to meet the energy code. And we're also beefing up the roof and adding more insulation there to achieve R38. And that'll be a roof coating low slope, which it is existing. It's a pretty low slope. And then here's the development zone. And in pink is where we're at as our subject property. We're mostly surrounded by contributing properties, and some of which have already a handful of accessory structures and additional secondary units. And here's some example of those. Some of these either, little carriage houses type of structures, or in some cases, full-on secondary units. Here, there's one in the back at 415 East 2nd Street. And these are mostly, for the most part, simple shed or gable roof structures with stucco and corrugated metal, similar to what we're proposing. A lot of them have, single hung windows, again, similar to what we're proposing. Here is an example of the type of fence we want to use, which is, a picket type of fence with the floor delay, little finial pattern. And that's also found at the primary residence. So here's a drawing of that and what we'd like to use for that fence. Oh, it looks like the text here is, for some reason, it's not. All these little squares were supposed to be text, but there's some issue going on here. Here's the existing site elevations. Again, it was a really simple structure. It had some existing windows and doors. And then here's the proposed, where we would be fully upgrading the exterior envelope, adding some more new windows and new addition. And here you can see the porch with the columns on the south.
I have a question before you move on.
Yes.
The pictures of the existing, it looks like there's sort of like a metal carport or something. Is that whole thing
Yes.
going away?
Yes,
Okay,
it's
just
gonna,
make sure. Thanks.
yeah, it gets moved, or it more than likely will have to go away completely.
Just as a point of order, is it getting moved or is it going away completely?
I
Well, and I only say that, Shay, because we're wanting to approve your plan, so
Okay.
we just need to know what your plan is.
Right. Does it matter to you all for historic review? If it needs to go away completely, we will make it
It
go.
matters that you tell us what you're going to do.
Okay.
In terms of whether you keep it or not, I'm just asking that you,
I think our intention was to try to salvage it, to be
Oh, okay.
perfectly honest. I
so
think
it's not
that's,
shown on the drawing as to how you would do that. If you could just imagine that one of the things we're doing is kind of a precursor to other review processes in the city, but this is a review process. We
right,
want to see the drawings of what you are proposing to do, so we can say yes or no. And if
right,
you want to keep it, but it's not on the drawing, it just complicates things a little bit for the
right.
meeting.
No, I see the problem, and honestly, I don't have the CD set with me. I'm working from home right now, so I can't remember what I actually put in the site plan. We might have already, I don't see it on here called out.
I
like
don't see it either. Yeah, so
So-
imagine that we're kind of trying to approve the drawings that you're giving
Right.
to us, just like, you would be expecting the city to approve drawings that you're giving to them, and I don't see it.
Right, no, you're correct. So I need to make that clear, and I can't remember where Teresa and I landed with. I think her preference was to try to keep it and just move it. It's in the way right now.
Where
the-
where would you be moving it? If
Yeah,
Probably over one of these,
one of the 3 parking spots indicated?
yes, yeah, it's just a 10 by 20 little shade structure that she wanted to try to salvage if we could, but again, our priority is to get through, after this point, we need to get through development services as well. I don't see it being an issue with zoning, but
Well, I guess why
But-
I was asking and what Rick was trying to get at is that we want to be able to give you an approval. And if that's something that you guys want to keep, we would want to see that. And there's a lot of times where we can put that in our notes as part of our approval
Okay.
that, if you submit and you show us where it's going to be, then we can approve it with that. We can
Okay.
move you forward from our meeting with that happening versus you
Okay.
having to come back around. So
Okay.
if it's something you guys want, if you could, on your next step in the process, make sure it's added to the drawings and it would just be a condition of our approval.
Yeah, I'm just going through this in my head. Honestly, it's been these types of existing structures, she never had it permitted, so honestly, my preference would be to just demolish it and not show it at all, and her come back at a later time to get that approved. Because I don't want this little structure to hold up the permit, which for other projects, these little structures have been holding up permits. And so, I honestly, I think both her and my intention is to get through this process as quickly as possible. So I would like to show it demolished. I'm sorry, I'm going back on myself.
No worries.
I think
It's
that's
okay.
the safest path
Yeah.
forward to satisfy both you all and development services and get through this as quickly as possible.
Jim, did you have a comment? I saw your hand up.
No. We wrapped around to it. Shay, it sounded like you needed to remove this and move it for the construction. So come back when you want to rebuild it and you don't have to delay the bigger project. So
Exactly.
which is what you
Yeah.
guys landed on. I just wanted to put it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah,
You.
because otherwise you are going to have to go back and change the drawings, and we can add comments in our minutes, as Rachel said, but then you still want to have it done before the next step in the review. I don't know. It does add a little complication.
Yeah,
Um,
no, I'd like to just get this approved at this point, and And it's been, like I said, it's been an issue, and it's becoming more and more of an issue where development services asking for more. I mean, I have a project right now where they want a completely separate permit for all of these unpermitted structures, and it's just we keep adding more. It seems there's always more process added every time I go to apply for a permit. So
I've been there, and
uh,
it can get very frustrating.
again, I
Shay,
don't want.
Rachel is one of your soulmates in this process.
Yes, I have been there, and it's like, why didn't you tell me this last time?
Yeah.
So I so understand, which
So,
is
yeah,
why I
I
wanted to say, if it's there somewhere and you want to move forward, we can help that, so you don't have to come back around with us on that. But I mean, I completely agree with you, and from your standpoint of, you're putting your name and stamp on these drawings, this isn't permitted, let's just move forward.
yeah.
And, I'm all for recycling and reusing materials when possible, and that's still an option, just maybe not at the moment.
Yeah. And these aren't super high quality. They weren't, I think the homeowner, she understands. So
Yeah.
Yeah, we will do what we have
So
to
while
do.
we're on this view,
So just so I add something here, in development services, when you come in with a new project, if there are any unpermitted structures that are on that property, you are not going to get a permit for the new structure until you resolve the unpermitted structures that are existing on the property. That is just standard policy.
Hey,
Yeah.
Michael,
But there's-
Can you
can I
repeat
ask
that?
you?
zoning can be, even with that caveat, Michael, and I appreciate your standpoint on it. Like, I've had certain people in zoning bring up things on the same project as like they've never looked at it before, and it's like dragged things out like months at a time, when it's like, we had a conversation, why didn't you tell me all of this up front? Which is just
Yeah,
my own.
yeah, Richard, sometimes the zoning staff, sometimes they catch some of the things a little bit late in the process.
Yeah, no, I don't think they're intentionally being malicious, but it is
No,
frustrating.
not really, not really.
Yeah.
So
Michael, may I ask you a
right
question?
up front, yeah,
Because I guess literally I understand what you're saying, but isn't there, if an unpermitted structure is of a certain vintage, isn't it sort of kind of grandfathered in if it was done 20 years ago? Does that still?
No, the grandfather rule is if it was permitted at the time. If it was not permitted, whether it's 20 years, 30 years, it cannot be grandfathered in. The grandfather clause holds for properties that were permitted at the time in that code. And then you come today and the code has changed, but it was permitted at the time, then you will be considered as grandfather in. If you cannot show any proof that it was permitted at all, no matter the age, zoning will not consider it as being grandfather in.
Okay.
Yeah,
And-
so like I had a project where they had a carport that was permitted, but then they wanted to enclose it for it to become ADU. And so the carport was permitted and it wasn't allowed use with its certain setbacks. But then changing that into an ADU did not meet the current code. And so
Exactly.
that carport was okay if they kept it as a carport, but as soon as they wanted to change the use of it, it was no longer protected by that grandfathered in
Exactly.
status.
Exactly.
So I
Exactly.
understand that, and I don't want to drag this too far astray, but it is helpful to me a little bit, even in this conversation. If someone had done an unpermitted, enclosed a porch 30 years ago, which without permitting, and somebody wanted to come back and do a restoration because they had windows they shouldn't have had or something, they want to put appropriate windows in, but they're going to touch that addition. You're saying that they have to go through an entire re-permitting of that change? I see Rachel nodding her
Yeah,
head.
even
Holy
if they
moly.
weren't the owners
Yeah.
of,
Even if they
Yeah.
weren't the owner.
even if they weren't the owners, they own it now. If they're touching it, any permit touches the property, it has to be brought up to today's code, which is how the grandfathered situation comes into play, because if it was, you know, something was staying as it was and it met the code at that time, that's fine. But if it was never permitted, it didn't meet any code
Right.
technically, and so now it has to come up to today's standard.
And then how does a homeowner determine whether something that was done long, long ago was permitted? Because it's not always necessarily easy to find. I mean,
We have records,
Yeah.
I mean,
The
Yeah.
Yeah, all you can
the
do is hope-
responsibility is on the owner to show proof to zoning staff that it was permitted. You can always ask for records. You can show for records, you can show aerial photos when it first appears on this and stuff like that. So
yeah, it
really,
comes down to
everybody-
like a
yes,
due diligence when you're purchasing a home or selling a home. If you're
Yeah.
buying something and you can see there is an addition and you know you might want to do something more, you might want to make sure that thing was permitted, because you could now be stuck with the one trying to prove that things were done correctly.
okay, all
And
right,
you
very
have to
helpful.
rip holes in your walls and all kinds of fun things. So
So-
for example, I have a project in the barrio that won the ADU contest in the barrio. They went through the review process. It was approved because he actually was a winner of the ADU contest. Unfortunately, the property owner has a porch that was not permitted. And because of that porch that was not permitted, zoning and the building code, they are saying that that porch needs to be permitted before the ADU can actually be constructed. So they are now at a stage where they either have to permit the porch or they have to tear down the porch because it was not permitted in the first place. So if you have things that are not permitted, what Richard is saying to you, just please figure out how you are going to handle that. You cannot move it around and leave it there because somehow zoning may catch up with it and it will delay your process.
and that's all that's, you know, Pima County, you know, town of War Valley, all of them, you know, I help people all the time trying to get permits on things that were done, you know, in the 70s and the 80s. Oh, they enclosed this porch, they added this porch. And so we have to go back and try it, especially when it's nice when it's just a porch, because you can generally kind of see, you can kind of dig a footing down. But
Yep.
when it's been enclosed, it's like, well, we got to take some drywall off and we got to see what hangers and fasteners they use to make sure that it, you know, meets the standards. And that everyone's, well, it's been standing for 40 years. I'm like, yeah, I get that, but we still have to say what it is, unfortunately. So
Okay. All right, very helpful. Sorry for the distraction. And I just want to take a moment to recognize Damon has joined us.
What time is it?
Damon, do you know what time you
6:30.
take over?
Yeah, I joined at 6:28.
6:28. Okay, thank you.
okay, so with that being said, yes, both of these structures would come down on the south and east. These porch structures, I don't want to hang up the process for these little structures.
Right.
Okay.
And then, so you're stuccoing everything, right? It's not going to be the
Yes.
tube. Okay.
Yes, and we have to meet the energy code. We're gonna
Right, get that
add
extra insulation.
spray foam, stucco, rigid foam board, and get it to meet the R19. So it's gonna look a lot nicer. Overall, I think we're creating a huge improvement to this existing structure.
Yeah, no doubt.
And we went through, yeah, we already went through this one. Let me zoom out a little bit. Site photographs, elevations.
How tall did you say the ADU is going to be?
How big?
How tall?
How tall? 10 feet one at the
10,
height.
10-1 is what she has
Okay.
said.
Okay.
And you can see this follows the existing slope, this high point. The roof sandwich is again getting a little thicker because we're having to add exterior additional layers of insulation to meet the R38, but it's otherwise unchanged. So that was all more or less existing. And then we're adding this additional shed structure in front for the bathroom and porch, which slopes in the opposite direction. So you can see
Shay-
that here in this east elevation and west elevation.
Right. Shay, in the.
And then we're leaving the eaves exposed and trying to, as much as possible, kind of keep the structure existing and how it was, and the new structure matches that same methodology
Shay,
with
Shay,
the
if I may,
exposed eaves and
Shay, can I
Yes.
interrupt for just a moment? In the existing and in the narrative, you talk about some clear story windows that I don't see in the proposed.
okay. So yeah, we're gonna have to cover those.
Okay, so you're not gonna have the clear stories.
No,
Okay,
no, we don't have the height. I had hoped we could keep those, but we're barely meeting code minimum for height at this 7'7" low end of the bathroom. So yeah, it just didn't quite work out.
I suggest that before you go to the plans review subcommittee, the next stop on your journey, that you remove the reference in the narrative
Okay,
to doing vinyl clear story windows.
okay.
That will
I'm
help.
Okay, did I have that in the beginning?
Yeah, you did.
Oh, oops,
It was in
sorry.
the,
Yeah.
it's in the design there, right in there. It's toward the end. We don't need to find it right now, but it's.
Okay.
You said you were gonna change them to.
Oh, wait, it does
single-
say, it says additionally, the existing clerestory windows will be removed. And
Oh,
single,
okay.
yeah,
Vinyl well, in single hung vinyl windows, so I
installed.
didn't, but where the clear stories are? No,
No, I guess it's not clear, the language.
yeah, maybe because it confused me. So if you don't
Okay.
mind, you don't have to do this tonight, but just clear that up, because so what you're saying is the drawing, the proposed elevations that you were just showing us are the intended elevations.
Yes,
Okay,
yes. Yeah, honestly, I didn't, again, just for also the sake of cost, I mean, this is already feeling like it's gonna be way more expensive than what the homeowner wants to spend, and trying to detail that waterproofing condition where, you know, where the porch meets the clerestory window, we just didn't quite have enough height to make
No,
all of that
fine.
work.
yep.
So,
Yep, if this is what you're doing, and then the word vinyl, I mean, you're not gonna do vinyl windows, your text
No.
for the windows are wood and the door is wood, so yeah.
and the
Okay.
homeowner's aware of that. She already kind of went through this with her existing primary residence, so.
Okay, okay,
And here's a more colored, colored rendered elevation of what we're thinking with the colors.
And then the doors would also.
Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
and it's called out in this drawing right now that the door is wood.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I changed that language as well. But again, for some reason, this presentation here is not the text.
It could
is-
be, you know what it is whatever font you're using isn't loaded on the computer that you're displaying it on.
Oh, okay.
So if
Because
you
the
load that
material that
font,
we were able to look at
Yeah.
was clear.
Okay.
I could read
so
the
if you
font.
load that font to your laptop or whatever you're presenting on, it should show up.
Oh, okay.
fine.
Yeah, I'm having issues. I'm sorry, I'm not at home.
No
So
worries.
I mean, I'm not at my office, so I'm a little bit less prepared. Sorry. And then I clarified as well, the site plan and what's happening here. With the dark gray being a basin, and this, accessibility is important to her. So we want to do a raised, stabilized DG path, so it all, we create the accessible entry. And then here's, some examples of some of the elements we're taking from the district, from the area, our development zone. You see examples of the single hung windows and stucco. And then here was the,
Are you comparing
Oh.
are you comparing accessory structures to accessory structures, or you are comparing accessory structure to principal structures?
can you repeat that, please?
Are you comparing accessory structures to accessory structures, or you are comparing accessory structure to principal structure?
Oh, I guess I did both. I compared I mostly compared to further up accessory structures to accessory structures. But I didn't know if you wanted to see additional details in the neighborhood, so that's why I put this down here. Maybe that's not clear. Maybe I don't need this page.
I'm not sure you do, because you're not really doing anything to the contributing property.
No. Okay. I mean, this could be removed.
No, you can leave it. Just make sure that your discussion, the code allows you to compare accessory structure to accessory structure. So you're not comparing accessory structure to principal structure. That's just the point I'm making here.
So it is allowed or no?
You can include the material. It's just what Michael is saying is that since your whole presentation is really only addressing changes to the accessory structure, you don't need to be comparing to photos of existing contributing properties, because that's not what
Okay.
actually the comparison is.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's
It doesn't hurt
yeah.
anything. It's just, it's not
okay.
required.
Yeah, that we can, I mean, this page then maybe, like I said, is irrelevant, so.
Right.
Okay, and then I don't know why this isn't showing up right, but,
It is showing up correctly in the material we got. Again,
Yes.
okay, good.
I think like Richard said, I think it is just the font that you are using because it is showing up
yeah.
normally in the material that I sent out. So
Okay, thank you. Okay, and that's it. That's all I have.
Can I ask you, if you don't mind, to go back to the proposed elevations?
Yes.
So one thing, yeah, there you go. There is no call out in your package for that square window and door on the east elevation that I saw.
Okay, yeah, those are existing. So, and they're existing wood. It's an existing wood door and an existing wood window, so those will just stay in place.
Okay, that's the east elevation. So I'm going to ask again, as this package moves forward, that you mark it as such. So we're used to seeing a schedule of what you're going to do, and if you're going to leave something existing, it's on the drawing, you should just say existing and what material it is. Okay. All right. Let me open it up to the board for discussion, questions.
Don't have any.
Good.
No questions.
Yeah, no
I'm
more.
good too.
Oh, thanks, Dana. All right, no more, none for me either. So do you want to have somebody take a stab at a motion?
Before we do that, Rick,
Yeah.
do you want to, you said you were taking notes on things, so we want the east elevation note added about existing, and then do we want her to adjust the language on the cover sheet? Correct?
Thank you, yes.
Was there anything else?
Those are the only two things that I wrote down. So the, yeah, clarify the language on the cover sheet so that it's clear that you're not incorporating clear
vinyl.
story windows and you're not using vinyl. And then on the east elevation, that the door and window are existing in wood.
Okay.
And I think it's clear in the presentation, there's no carport in the proposed, so you don't need to do anything. We're just agreeing that that's not part of the project.
Yes.
and Mr. Chair, members of the board, whoever is making the motion, please do not forget about the setbacks. Because there are some setbacks about 2 feet and 3 feet
Right.
something, which
Thanks,
you should
Michael.
recommend for them to be waived. If not, then the applicant will have to go through the DDO process, please.
Yep.
Do we have purview over the zoning setbacks as the historic review?
Yeah,
Yes,
we
Okay,
do.
sorry,
We
just
do.
checking.
Yep.
That's one of the best parts about historic review.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Like
saw
the
that.
only sunshine part of it, I feel like.
I saw that as an advantage. It actually helps the project a great deal if you all approve that setback variance and then we don't lose an additional 2 to 3 months for a DDO process.
Right. Thank you, Michael, for bringing that up.
you're welcome, sir.
Okay, I can take a step at a motion. This is Rachel Sarah. I motion to approve the project as presented with the following amendments or caveats. One, we approve the reduced setbacks on the, was it north and west sides?
Yes.
We would like to see the east elevation keynotes updated to reflect the windows that are existing as staying and their material. And then we'd like the language updated on the cover sheet to clarify the materials and the removal of the clear stories.
Sarah?
And second, I'm just catching up here.
Yeah, can you try for the Sunday, Julian?
Okay. I think that's got everything I see we need. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second, Jim Glock.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
I
All right, motion carries 6-0. All right, well, good luck, Shay. Thank you very much. Motion's approved.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. Thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thank you for your time and for volunteering to do this. It's an evening and we're all here on a Tuesday, so I greatly appreciate it.
You're very, very welcome. Good luck.
Thank you.
Next step, we are going to schedule you for the plans review subcommittee on the Tucson Pima County Historical Commission. Once we schedule that, I am going to get in touch with you and let you know exactly what day that is going to happen. And at that meeting, you are going to do the same presentation that you have done here. They will listen to the recommendation from West University and they will make their own independent recommendation. Based on those two recommendations, the Director of Planning and Development Services is going to make a final decision on your project.
Okay.
And if you have any question along the line, feel free to either contact me or contact Maria.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. That's the end of the reviews. We're on to item 5, design guideline, PRS review, next steps update. I did not complete getting through incorporating all the comments from the last PRS review into a document I could send to you guys for review. So I'll complete that here in the next few days. My holiday went a little sideways on me, not in a bad way, but I didn't get it done. But I believe the next steps are we collectively just need to give a quick look at the comments that we got from PRS, which were all very constructive, and I don't think we're gonna have any problem with it, but we need to say yes. And then we also need to go back to PRS and finish the last, I think it was like 9 pages.
It's about 10 pages.
10 pages of the document. And Michael, you know, if you wanna just kind of look into the future and see when we could get back on their agenda. They did actually schedule a meeting just for this purpose, unique meeting. If they want to do that again, fine. If it's, given that it's only 10 pages, they may want to squeeze it into something else. But maybe
Yeah.
kind of get that teed up.
At this point in time, given that you only have 10 more pages and you and Jim had done a great job on the first outing, I don't think we are going to do just one meeting for you again. I feel
that makes sense.
comfortable putting it alongside with another little project here and there. I'm just waiting for you to let me know that you have incorporated all the comments and you are ready to do the 10 last pages that are ready, and then we'll be able to schedule you at that point.
Okay.
You will recall that the first review, there was no action taken because I knew that you were still going to come back again. So
Oh, okay, yeah. That's fine. And I think probably what we want to do, Michael, you know, for the comments that we've received so far, once I distribute those to the board, do we need to, like, does that need to be a topic in the meeting that we all approve it, or can it be done?
no, I would suggest that you just go, you can discuss it at the meeting, get back to PRS and do the same thing as you did last time. Get their recommendation and then we go from there. I mean, all of you can still discuss it and agree that the comments that you got, you have included it and you're okay with that. And then the 10 pages that are left, because they have not reviewed it to give you any comments on that. I don't know whether you want to go to them and finish those 10 pages and then come back to the board and just do one review. That would be a recap of everything. I don't know. Or you want the board to first of all comment on what they gave to you. So when you're going back to them for the other 10 this thing, you already have something that the board has said. It's up to you entirely how you want to handle it.
Rachel, it looked like you had your hand up.
Yeah, I had a question. So the 10 pages, we never did that, or they just didn't finish looking over what
We
we
just
did?
didn't, we ran out of time. Yeah.
No, they just didn't, they couldn't get to it. Rick and
Oh, okay.
they did a great job actually covering
Yeah.
a lot of space within the time that they had. So just that.
So
Okay.
we finished the whole
We
document.
finished. That's what I thought. I was like, we
yeah.
left 10 pages undone?
No, we didn't
Okay.
leave 10 pages undone. We just timed out.
Or just a matter of time.
Yeah. Well, I will, yeah, Jim.
So I say we get in front of PRS to do the next 10 pages as soon as we can. And then in the meantime, we incorporate everything, and when it's all incorporated, we bring it back to this board, get it blessed, and then bingo, we're published.
Yeah, that's fine. That's
Okay.
probably fastest and easiest.
Okay. We'll look into that.
Okay.
We'll
Okay,
get
so,
you in as quickly as we can.
okay. All right, that's what we'll do. You know, in any case, I think we're on a good track to be done with PRS, you know, by the, I don't know, the next 2 meetings or whatever. You know, they meet every other week. We're pretty much close to the finish line there. And then the next steps after that, Michael, is it goes, you guys turn on it, and it ultimately has to be approved by mayor and council, right? The answer is yes, it does have to be approved.
Yes, sorry, yes. No, the answer is yes, sorry.
Okay, no worries. No worries. All right, well, I mean, we are definitely light at the end of the tunnel on that. Thank you.
You're very close, so.
Very close. And we're in very good shape. And I think others are going to start following our lead and incorporating a bunch of the stuff we did.
It's only your board that has actually even gone this far. The other boards are working on theirs, they have not even gotten to where you are.
Right. Excellent. Okay, item 6, staff updates. Michael, do we have any staff up?
You have any update to give?
Yep.
Yes, Mr. McDonald, members of the WUSA. So, as you remember, there was a question about the TEP power line and the purview by the advisory board when the transmission lines were coming in. So TEP did submit 3 special exception requests. One for Broadway and Euclid, the other one for Grant and Oracle, and the other one for 36. 3 Dankino Parkway. And all of those special exception requests are specifically for the relief of undergrounding at those crossings. And the one closest to West University is the one on Euclid and Broadway, that intersection. So those undergroundings of the transmission lines are due not only for review by the zoning examiner, but they also have to follow the requirements specified in the gateway corridor zone. In this case, it's Broadway, which is a designated gateway for the major streets and routes plan. So far, no power lines running through the West University HPC. So I triple checked with staff, and yes, indeed, that was the confirmation. And Mr. McDonald, you were supposed to get a phone call from John Beal.
I did. I spoke with him at
Okay.
length,
Okay, so he explained
before
it.
Christmas.
Mhm.
Well, it's kind of a misunderstanding. We're all very aware of what applications have been done.
Okay.
And that is the first of 3 steps. But TEP is going to come and apply to the city to go down Euclid through the middle of the HPZ. And what I asked of John was, and he didn't know the answer when I talked to him. So what's the guidelines that we're supposed to be following when we review those things that haven't come yet? And that's not about what the city has, it's about what the city's about to get. All they've done right now is applied for undergrounding exceptions at intersections.
And the next one that I'm aware of that is supposed to come in is the revision to the approvals they had gotten in the past for the Vine substation.
And they have to do so there's 3 things they have to do. They have to get approval from the city to not have to underground at the intersections. And there's 3, I believe. You mentioned 1, Broadway and Euclid. They have to get approval for a zoning exception to the Vine substation in order to do the substation work they need to do there. And then they need to get approval to route those lines through the streets that connect the dots of the intersections that they're proposing to go through and connect to the Vine substation. That latter one, which they're not going to do for 6 months, is the one that does affect us. And all I was trying to do, and all we were asking was, can we have a conversation at some point before that ever comes to us with the city on what are we supposed to be reviewing?
Okay.
And what TEP is proposing, just as a reminder, is to put these 100-foot poles in the front yards of 6 contributing properties on Euclid.
Okay. So let me touch bases again. So far, we haven't seen anything.
No, you're not. You're months and months away from seeing it, Maria, is what I'm trying to say. I'm not waiting for it to show up.
Right.
In advance of that, it'd be good to have a conversation about what criteria are we going to be looking at. They are going to send it to you. They just aren't going to do it until the summer, I think. Just if you look at all the public documents, not just what's come in to Planning and Development Services formally, but what is going to come in as part of the next steps in the process. And there's no, this isn't like set your hair on fire urgent. It's got to be at our next meeting. But we do want to understand long before it comes to us, what are we supposed to be doing with it?
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so let me press that again.
And from talking to John, I don't think John is the person we want to talk to. I mean, I love John and everything, but I think it's really he himself, after talking with me, said he was going to go back and ask the same question to the city attorney's office. I do believe it ultimately goes to the city attorney, and I think that's Jim that proposed that that's where it goes.
Okay, so let me ask that question again.
And it's not reviewing materials that you've already got exemption requests for. It's the exemption requests that are coming as part of this very public process of running these lines through Midtown.
Mhm. Okay,
Okay, all
sounds
right.
good. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Mhm, you
And
bet.
the other update, and let me go back to my notes because there's been so many cases. I want to make sure I'm telling you the right one here. So, thank you for meeting last week with one of our staff members and the applicant for the property at 717 North.
717, yes.
Yeah, North 7th Avenue. So I was going through the records and, I went ahead and set up the meeting as a preliminary feedback to the applicant because after going through records and looking at the pictures, Gabriel Slater, our staff member that was at that meeting last week, then it was evident that the applicant was not in compliance with the plans that were approved back in 23, early 24, for the duplex and the main house up front. So we held a meeting with him today, with Mr. Kelly Norgal.
Mm.
And so the next steps he's gonna take is he's gonna submit revised construction documents and a revised design package showing all the improvements that exist currently on the property and requesting, the modifications and explaining why the improvements that were done took place and go through the West University Advisory Board for review and the PRS, and also Skinny's to request modifications to the decision notice that was issued, for the approvals, which include, I believe, at least 3 conditions related to the duplex in the back that he's not meeting. So he's supposed to give us his reasonings of why things happen the way it happened and revise plans and go from there. That's the route he wanted to take. The other option he was given is to, modify what was done on site to meet code, but we understand also that there's some issues with the stucco, the way it was attached to the bricks. So anyway, he chose to resubmit plans for review.
So that's a burden on
those
us.
plans will be reviewed, Maria, those plans will be reviewed by West University and also reviewed by PROS.
Right.
Yes, they will need to be reviewed by both.
Right. So I was kind of hoping to be done by 7, but I'm going to drag this on just a little bit. We had a fairly lengthy discussion in this board not that long ago before the holiday, and I met on site with the homeowner, the developer, same, Kalen, with Gabriel. I know you guys are kind of going through the process. That is the process, but we're not going to approve that crap.
Yeah, and if that's the recommendation of the board, that's fine. But
we have to go through it
you
again.
can provide him with some guidelines of the best way to mitigate. If that's the way the board decides to go with, regardless, he needs to go back through the process if he wants to maintain what he has.
And the other thing, board member, is that we believe he revealed to us he intends to sell the property.
The property has a contract on it. If you mean intend to sell, it has a contract on it.
Yeah, we are requesting that he better do a full disclosure to whoever wants to buy it, because from the point of view of zoning and the city policy, if you buy a property with any pending violations and things like that, you inherit those things. So we encourage him, if he does sell, to make sure that the new owner knows what is at stake.
And also he was requested when he submits plans, if he submits them, or if he's in the middle of the process of review, and there's a new property owner, to include a letter from that property owner authorizing him to go through this review again.
Why wouldn't this just go straight to mayor and council since he's in default of the program?
That's not. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
that's not the purview of mayor and council.
But if we say
Mr.
no and
Fernando.
planning and development says no, it goes to mayor and council again anyway. And if they say no, after the revisions have been denied,
Well, that's if there's an appeal, Mr.
That's when
Spangle,
it's
but there's
appeal.
something else that I did mention to Mr. Norwood was that, you know, he was initially a code violation. And at any moment, any person from the neighborhood or from somewhere else can file a complaint again. And his code violation would be reopened. But
Is it
things don't go to
closed?
mayor and council, and there's an appeal to a PDSD director's decision.
thank you.
But didn't we already say no, and didn't they already say no? So shouldn't it already be, like, why should it go through the process again, I think is the question,
He
right?
didn't show in the plans that were reviewed last year. He didn't show what's on site.
Well,
So the plans that were reviewed do not depict what's on site.
that is a true statement, because he was specifically.
Because he was told not to do.
I'm just, for the sake of my fellow board members, we're all trying to understand how the machine works here. And it's not, you know, not an emotional thing, kind of could be, but it's not. I mean, he told me and Gabriel on site that right after he met with PRS and got told no by 2 organizations to the stucco, that he stuccoed. He just did it.
And he mentioned to us this morning that the stucco was done before.
It was not.
He went to the review.
Well, then we have a whole other different ethical issue, which, you know, if he's insisting that, it was not. And the evidence that was in the design package that was presenting to us, which was photos of the building, that it was a brick building. And he told me and Gabriel in person that he stuccoed after meeting with us, after being told no, and drove nails into the brick and wire mesh stuff and everything that made me, you know, wish he hadn't done that.
Mr. Chair, I believe because it is coming to you for review, let's just wait when he submits and he comes before you, and then you can bring up all these things and make your recommendation, and we go from there and see what happens.
Okay, so, but there is no, at this point, yes, thank you, Michael. I think I'm hearing clearly that the city is gonna, because they don't have drawings that have been through this review process that reflect the current state, we have to go look at the drawings that are reflecting the current state. So if that's what we have to do, we'll do. There is no mitigation to this. There's no fixing it. It's, the damage is done. It just seems like after the meeting that we had, myself and Gabriel, that it's surprising to me the city didn't just decide, the director didn't just decide that the next step is to inform the purchaser, because there is a contract on the building, that this building is in the state it's in and it's in a code violation state, and just inform them of all that stuff. I mean, that is ultimately the only thing. And then that contract between the seller and the buyer is going to have to be, you know, it's between them. And you know, reflecting back on an earlier part of tonight's meeting, you have a building that is in violation, that is not permitted for what was done to it. And
I think part of the issue is, Rick, is I don't think that the city can contact the purchaser. It's kind of up to their realtor and them to do due diligence.
Yeah.
So I wish we could go and be like,
Yeah.
hey, don't do this, but I don't think it's that realtor and that owner's job to do due diligence before they purchase something. And if they're taking a loan, you can't take out a loan on a property that has unpermitted structures or anything like that either. So, it really comes down to someone in the process of the buyer, buyer beware. And that's part of that buyer beware is they have to do their due diligence on their property. And
So, yeah, okay. I mean, I get
Is the
that.
property technically in violation? Like, is there an open code violation against it?
I'm not sure if there's an open code violation.
So
as we
Damon,
speak.
when I looked after meeting with the owner, there was a violation and it's been closed.
Oh, okay, so yeah, that because
And I
he
don't
went ahead and
understand
got
that
the
either.
permit.
Yeah,
Yeah, he went ahead and got the permit, that's why, but,
yeah, because the reason it was closed because there was a violation. He went through the process, he got permitted, and then they closed the violation. But now, what is actually on site, what is built, is different from what was permitted.
But shouldn't that be part of the city's process of like that final inspection, getting that C of O, like that permit shouldn't have been closed out?
yeah,
it was
if the
in violation.
inspection, if the inspection took place prior to him starting.
And part of the problem is that a lot of our inspectors actually they do not have the historic preservation background that we have, that you have. And so sometimes some of the things get through inspection and get approved, whereas technically in terms of historic preservation, that is not what was really approved.
Well, would that come to like, not necessarily the inspector, but so that last inspection is closed out, but a permit shouldn't be, like the C of O shouldn't be granted until, XYZ is crossed. So how was that C of O given? I guess, are we saying, the C of O was given and the permit and the inspection's all closed out because they did what they were supposed to do, but now there's a violation because.
No, we're still in the process of inspecting. That's why we figured out that what is built is different from what was actually approved.
So I guess my question is, can the buyer actually look this up then? Like if they put in this property address, are they going to see that there's a violation, but they're saying there's not? So that means like there should either be showing there's an open permit or that there's a violation. But when you look up the address, you're saying there's nothing, Rick?
Yeah, I see that they closed the
It's
code
closed.
enforcement case. It is.
So I'm going back, Rachel, to buyer beware. Well, if the buyer looked it
When they
up, the
can't.
city would show
Yeah.
it closed.
Right. Yeah.
They'd say there was a violation opened and it's closed. And that's what's,
So it needs to be reopened then.
Yeah, now that
No.
the city is aware of what is going on, there is normally going to get code enforcement involved in this, and a new violation will be open.
but someone has to, I think what I heard either you or Maria say is that now we have to open, now somebody has to file a new complaint.
That is
No.
correct, Mr. McDonald.
Yeah.
I'm perfectly
case
willing to
is
do
already
that, by the
closed.
way, don't get me wrong, but
Yeah, we just need to know what steps
it's sort of a silly
can or need to
process, but if
take.
that's the process,
Yeah.
then
Because the buyer should be aware. The buyer should be able to know this. And I've had many clients that will be like, oh, well, I looked and there was no open permits, or there was this weird solar permit and we're trying to figure out what that means. And so, that it is a resource for realtors, for people that are buying to go and do that. And if something is active and is known about, there should be something that they can find.
So, Mr. McDonald, at the site visit last week, Gabriel mentioned that the realtor for the person intending to buy
The
this
realtor
property
was
also
there on
present.
site. He was the realtor, the person going to buy the property was on site too. That's what he told me and Maria today.
that's true. That's true, but there was nothing resolved. So here's what that realtor heard. A conversation between a city employee, a WUZAB board member, and the builder, where the builder did most of the time explain that we didn't know what we were talking about and he had to do what he had to do. And that realtor heard no comments from Gabriel because he was going to go back and file a report. So she knew nothing about what the position ultimately was going to be. And if you go online, the pro says it's closed. So that's what the realtor knows. The realtor wasn't in the conversations hearing us say this was a dumb thing to do. She might have heard it in the background. She was just kind of following us in the background. But it wasn't a meeting that had a resolution where we could look at the realtor and say, you do need to understand that this is in violation. Because that conversation was not happening. We left it to Gabriel to go back, file a report to Korn, and say, here's what I observed, here's what I concluded. And I think, Maria, you said that's happened. But realtor wasn't party to any of that stuff. She was just listening. And the city's website says this is closed.
Right.
So, if it's
Now, we don't have the authority to contact the potential buyer or the realtor. I don't even have their information.
and that's
But
fine. I do understand that.
But let me talk to Dan Berserk and let him know what information you just gave me, and go from there. And again, anybody in the neighborhood can file a complaint.
Well, that's probably something that should happen, but it's strange that it should happen. And I'm not, please don't take offense at anything I'm saying here. We're trying to understand.
Mhm.
But here was a situation where something was done that clearly should not have been done. And the city, Gabriel, myself, the WUZAB, met with the buyer, seller didn't accept anything he said. And, it seems like if the case wasn't closed, that's the city's informing the buyer, because there is an open case. You're not calling the buyer directly or anything, but to Rachel's point, anyone doing any due diligence and buying a $1.2 million piece of property, which is what that thing's on contract for, should probably look up and see whether there's an open code violation. And there's not an open code violation. Yes, Jim.
Really, it begs the fundamental question as to why are we even on this board? Well, I mean, here is something where our action was clearly violated. It's like now there's going to be a prerogative. Well, you don't have to worry about it. Just go ahead and do what you want because the city doesn't do anything. There's got to be some consequence for this fellow's behavior. And I don't see the city leading to any consequence, be it a fine, be it no C of O. It's like, then why are we on this board? It's just crazy.
Well, I'm gonna be cautious about how much time we spend on this, unless we want to all adjourn to a bar and have a conversation there. Okay, so what I'm hearing from this conversation, Maria, is that that it's coming back to us with revised drawings that reflect the current condition, asking permission to do it that way. Fine. And that in order to have an open violation, somebody needs to file a new violation, file a new complaint. Those are two things I'm hearing right now. And
I would like to is there a way that in the future these things don't get closed out if they're not meeting the stipulations that were put on them? That's, to me, it feels like where the misstep happened, is that he had to go through these processes. He didn't meet that process. So he shouldn't have been, the permit should have never been closed out. That's what I'm not understanding, is like, it shouldn't have to go through the process again. It's that he didn't meet the stipulations of his permit. And so now he's going to get a second permit because he's been told that, but the first one should have just never been closed out.
I think I agree with what you're saying, Rachel. I think something, I don't know. It seems like this problem is probably not really going to be solved, but I think the city should try to learn from it. And one thing that the city might consider is on historic properties, maybe somebody from your office, Michael, should be part of the final inspection.
Yeah, I think something like that, or a board member. I mean, we are already
Yeah,
volunteers, so
even
that's
we're
kind of
already
hard,
volunteers.
but like, if this is something that is important, there needs to be some sort of way of making sure. And it is, and you guys are short-staffed. Like, I feel so bad for how much work you guys have to do all the time. And I have a list of questions that I want to ask you before we get off this call, because it's like, there's
Yeah.
so much, and it's just challenging all around.
Right. Yeah. I echo you guys are short-staffed, and I think, we can help as well, but it does seem to be something that we need to learn from, because we are basically saying, this guy did stucco, he finished the stucco before the decision letter was given to him. He was very clear on that. He didn't even wait for the decision letter. And it's just like, this is a problem.
Well, and the fact that they're gonna turn around and sell it for that much, I'm sorry, they had the money to repair the brick. So to say financially they couldn't do that, you shouldn't be working on a project that big if you can't repair something properly. So,
Well, and even if the buyer knew what the buyer was getting, which we, by virtue of closing this out, they're technically not. Even if the city doesn't directly inform the buyer or inform the real estate agent into there in the record, then that price probably wouldn't be what it is. This seller is getting a premium for something that is a little, and he is hot to trot to sell this thing. He was very clear to
oh,
me
of
and
course, well,
Gabriel.
yeah, he wants to
needs
pass
to get
this
this
problem on to
thing-
someone else.
Exactly. Well, he reminded me and Gabriel that we don't know what we're talking about. We're making a Mount Miracle Mobile. I mean, he has a very definitive idea on what's appropriate, which has nothing to do with historic preservation or with the materials. I mean, he put nails into historic brick and then covered it with cement. So,
Yeah,
There's
I mean, that's like structurally not gonna be okay, let
well,
alone
that's part of the due
visually
diligence.
not okay. Like I mean, that's why they're redoing the Center of your mission, is because they put cement over the adobe and the bricks are crumbling. And that's why they're doing that crazy huge restoration they've been doing for years and years and years, is because putting cement on brick is bad and it traps the moisture in and then it crumbles from within.
Right.
So it's like, it's not just, oh, we don't like stucco. This is fundamentally not how this material should be treated.
Doesn't help things either. It speeds the process up by penetrating all those bricks with nails.
Oh yeah, let's just perforate them so that water has a great way right in to freeze and crack, and yeah.
Okay,
Material.
I think I understand that this is going to come back to us for a review. I guess a full review at some point. And I understand that the only way to have a violation or code violation be opened is to file one again. That's my understanding. Okay, any other staff updates, Maria?
No.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, actually.
You're like,
We don't yet have a historic preservation officer, but interviews are going on, so we should.
Okay.
Yes, but
Oh.
I believe the last interviews took place Friday last week, and hopefully an offer will be accepted this week.
This week, okay.
Hopefully,
So
and
back to you guys being one-arm paper hangers over there. I'm sure you are rooting for somebody to join the staff too. So yeah.
yes, and but again, I don't know. We don't know how long it's gonna take to run through the process if one of the applicants accepts the offer, and then I just don't know who this person is, but I was just thinking that if the applicant may be from out of town,
Sure.
there's another more lengthy process. So
Okay.
but we'll keep you
have-
up to date.
I have a couple questions and I don't know if these need to be done like off the record or not, but it's sort of just on the historic review process in general. With like sub-records or historic demolition permits. Is the best way to, so I have a couple of projects right now, none of them are in a historic neighborhood that we are demoing, an old house, and the other one's demoing a carport. And both of those had been hit by zoning to do a historic demolition permit. Maria, you were actually talking to my associate Joan the other day about it. And is the best way for us to apply for a second permit, like a second historic demolition permit, or do we do that as a sub-record of our existing permit number? What's the like expedited way or the most efficient way to get that to you guys?
I think it is done as part of the main permit. So
Okay, so it is a
it's not-
A
sub-record.
sub-record.
Yeah, if it is not in the HPZ,
Mhm.
the demolition goes through the historic review process only when it is 50 years and above.
Mhm.
So you don't have to apply for a different permit for that.
It's
You
just sub-record
You
of
just
our main
just
permit.
sub-record.
Okay, my second
So
question
somebody
is,
Hey, Rachel, if I may.
Yeah.
I'd like to adjourn the meeting.
yes,
and then
sorry,
everybody can
sorry.
stay
I
on
just
as
don't want
long as
everyone
they
to like
want.
take off and I need.
No,
these
no, no, no.
questions
Like some of us,
answered. Yes,
need-
absolutely.
Damon just got home from rush hour. He's probably.
And then you
know.
you can always send your questions to us and we'll.
Well,
provide-
Mhm.
and I don't mind if we drag, have other conversations after we close. I just want to kind of close. Are there any future agenda items? Question. No is okay. is the
I
answer.
hopefully have one for next month.
Next month. you have one.
Is my second question.
I believe we may have one off the top of my head now. I don't know what project it is. It's very likely that we are going to have one inside next month.
Okay, so we're gonna meet again
Yes,
next month.
yes.
And then are there any minor reviews in the?
There are a
down?
couple of minor reviews. I was going to come to that. There are a couple of minor reviews that I have. I am going to get in touch with you, Mr. Chair, so
Mhm.
that we can flush.
Schedule those, okay.
My workload for minor reviews is really heavy. So I probably have probably close to about 7 or 8 minor reviews in West
Oh, wow.
University that are mainly for roof replacement, solar panel,
Okay.
signs. We'll be providing that information to you.
Okay.
My approach is I have already contacted PRS members and they're willing to help. So we may have to do them like a Zoom review, or I might just set up one day out there and then we can just do them like on-site review to get all of them out of the way as quickly.
Okay. Either way, I can make either work, I'm sure.
Okay.
Okay. So anything else?
No,
Okay, good.
not for me.
Okay. All right. So item on the agenda, and people can stay on as long as they want, but I would like us to declare that we are adjourned at 7:26 p.m. And if you could stop the recording, Michael or Maria, I'd appreciate that.